Òbàrà Méjì wins a chieftaincy title. After the death of his mother, he had to learn to take care of himself. He had given up drinking, so he no longer found himself in situations where he would make assertions and proclamations that could put him in trouble. He had learned from his mother the virtues of divination and sacrifice. Therefore, when he discovered that despite all his achievements, he was still very poor, he decided to get to the root of his problems. So, he invited an awo named Seton Semiko Nise Alarin ni Mgun. There is no poverty that has no end. He was advised to make a sacrifice to his Ifa with a goat, kola nut, melon, his covering cloth, and to prepare a meal of mashed yam with the goat's meat. He was also required to offer a male goat to Isu. The awo also advised him that on the day of the sacrifice, he should not go anywhere. Meanwhile, the king had sent for him, along with other awos, to come to his palace that day to participate in a special divination competition. The awo told him to perform the sacrifice that day and to ignore the king's invitation. So he made the sacrifice to his Ifa, although he could not find the barrel of kola nuts, or the melon, elegude, or kakamisi in Yoruba, and ayan in Bini. He also offered a male goat to Esu. When the awos arrived at the king's palace, the king asked each of them to reveal what was inside a locked room in his palace. All the awos tried, but none could reveal what was inside the room. Then it was the turn of an awo named Ògúégá, who revealed that inside the room there were 201 people. The reward of Òbàrà Méjì. That was the correct answer. The king then entered the room and gave each of the awos a barrel of kola nuts and a melon as a gift. He also sent Òbàrà Méjì his share, despite his absence. The awos had been at Olafen's palace for a long time without having eaten or drunk anything, and as a result, they were very hungry. On their way back home, they decided to visit Òbàrà Méjì, who in the meantime had prepared his table with fresh mashed yam and goat meat. As if the meal had been prepared especially for them, they all sat down, ate, and drank until they were satisfied. When Òbàrà Méjì asked what Olafen had given them, they replied that they had received kola nuts and melon and that he had also sent Òbàrà Méjì his portion. This made Òbàrà Méjì very happy because these were the two materials he was missing to complete his sacrifice to Ifa. When the others asked why he was so joyful over gifts that seemed of little value, he explained that these were the main materials used to make a sacrifice to his guardian spirit. Upon hearing this, all the awos gave him their own gifts of kola nuts and melons, so he would have a good supply stored. Before leaving, they told him that Olafen wished for all of them to return for another visit after 8 days. The triumph of Òbàrà Méjì. After the awos left, Òbàrà Méjì made an offering to his head, Ori, and his Ifa, using some of the melons and barrels of kola. However, when he cut them open with a knife, he discovered that, instead of containing kola nuts and melon seeds, each barrel was filled with all kinds of treasures, ranging from money to sacred beads. From the jewels he obtained in the barrels, he crafted a beaded robe, a pair of shoes, and a crown for himself, as well as a beaded covering for a horse he purchased for his use. On the 8th day, when they were supposed to meet Olafen again, Òbàrà Méjì made sure to be the last person to arrive at the palace. Before the meeting began, Olafen had decorated a special throne, similar to his own, which was reserved for the person who would be the best dressed among them. As the awos arrived, none of them had the courage to sit on the special throne next to the king. Instead, they took seats along the sides of the hall. When Ògúégá, who had won the last divination competition, arrived in his ragged clothes, he sat on the floor, where his form of divination is still practiced to this day. Finally, Òbàrà Méjì arrived, accompanied by a procession of pages. After offering the traditional greetings to Olafen, he looked around and saw the decorated throne next to the king. Without hesitation, he walked straight to it and sat down. Once everyone was seated, Olafen asked them about the fate of the melon and the barrel of kola, Obiala in Yoruba and Ohievbe in Bini, that he had given each of them after their last gathering. One by one, they replied that since they were not accustomed to eating such things, they had given them to Òbàrà Méjì, as he considered them his primary foods. At that moment, Olafen understood how Òbàrà Méjì had come to wear such a regal outfit. The king then took out his instrument of authority, Asi, and turned to Ògúégá. telling him that despite having won the test 8 days before, it was his foolishness that kept him in poverty, forcing him to sit on the ground. Then Olafin cursed Ògúégá, decreeing that he would always languish in poverty and rags. Finally, Olafin declared that Òbàrà Méjì would always remain above his peers and would flourish on thrones and in prosperity.